Hello, it's week 13 of season 7 of the Andy Griffith Show. This week's episode title is Otis the Deputy. There's been a bank robbery up in Mount Tylet, and Andy is on the phone in the courthouse that night talking with the sheriff up there, trying to figure out where they should set up their roadblocks. And Howard sees Andy working late, and he comes in the courthouse, and he asks him what's going on while Andy's trying to look at a net. And then, as if that weren't enough distraction, Otis comes in drunk. And Andy puts him in the cell, and he tells him to be quiet 'cause he's dizzy. And the next morning, Andy brings Otis his breakfast, and Otis is soldered up, and he tells Andy he's grateful that Andy has taken care of him all these years, and he wants to make it up to him. And Andy says no, he's got a lot on his mind with these bank robbers on the loose, and so don't worry about it, Otis. And Otis says he still wants to work for Andy to pay him back and run errands and clean up and such. And Andy says, no, I don't need anything. But Otis keeps at him. So Andy says, okay, I guess you can clean up for me. So Otis is sweating up and whistling loudly and getting in Andy's way while Andy's on the phone with Ed, the Mount Tylet sheriff, 'cause they didn't catch the bank robbers the night before. And then Howard comes in, and he starts dogging Andy again about where the bank robbers might be, and about some criminal justice theory that Howard's been reading. And then Otis says he might have seen these robbers yesterday in the old Carson shack while he was trying to get some liquor that he's got hidden up there. Yeah, well, he says he saw some guys hauling supplies and toting a rifle into that cabin, the Carson shack. And Andy says, oh yeah? So he takes a rifle and he says he's going up there. And he tells Howard and Otis that he'll be back at the courthouse by 3 o'clock at the latest. And he goes up to the shack, then he trips and falls over Otis's liquor bottles that he has hidden in the ground. And the two crooks had seen him coming, so they pulled their rifle on him while he's on the ground. And Andy is caught. And while he's not at the courthouse back by 3 o'clock, Otis gets worried, and Howard says let's not panic. And back at the cabin, they've got Andy tied to a chair, and they tell him they're all going to leave soon, 'cause Andy's going to be their passport through the roadblock and out of the state. So when it gets to be 3:30, and Andy still isn't back, Howard does start to panic. He says he's going to call the state police, and Otis says no, that'll take too long. Otis says he's going to go up there himself. And Howard says, alone, there might be shooting. And Howard says he'll go home and get his car and come back and pick Otis up and they can both go up. So while Otis is waiting for Howard to come back, he takes one rifle for each of them from Andy's gun rack. And then he starts looking for shells, and in the process he finds the bottle of liquor that Andy confiscated from him the night before. So when Howard gets back, Otis is drunk. Then Howard still has to take him along, 'cause only Otis knows where the Carson shack is. Then Howard says, you let us stay in the car. Meanwhile, Andy is loosening the rope that has got his hands tied without the crooks seeing him do it. And then Howard and Otis arrive, and they see Andy's car there, so they know Andy's is in there. And Howard gets out of the car with his gun, and he tells Otis to wait in the car. And while he goes up to the cabin, one of the crooks comes outside to chop some wood for cooking, but the crook don't see Howard. Meanwhile, Andy has gotten his hands free, and he grabs the crook who's still inside from behind, and he ties him to the chair, and he puts a gag over his mouth. And he takes the crook's gun and his own rifle back, but when he comes out of the cabin, Howard is crouching under the front door by then, and Andy trips over him. And the guy chopping wood notices. So now Andy and Howard are both captured, and the crook that was captured is free again. Meanwhile, Otis has gotten out of the car with his rifle, and he's still drunk. Yeah, Andy and Howard see Otis in the window behind them while the crook's backs are turned, but Otis falls down. And Howard tries the criminal theory he's been reading, showing respect to the crooks by complimenting their bank robbery skills and hoping they'll release them, but that don't work. And then Andy asks for a glass of water, and he asks for his hand to be untied so he can drink it. and he throws the water through the window while they're not looking to wake up Otis, but it don't work. And then they come tie his hand back. So now Howard asks for a glass of water, but he misses and throws the water on Andy instead. And then he asks for a second cup, and he throws it on Otis. And this one does wake Otis up, and he gets up real loudly. And one of the crooks goes outside to investigate what noise that is that Otis is making. And when he comes out the front door, Otis hits him from behind over the head with a bottle. And he goes down, but the second guy comes out, and he points his pistol at Otis, and he tells him to drop the rifle and to come into the cabin. And Otis does, but meanwhile, Andy and Howard have gotten 3 of their goats, and Andy grabs the second guy from behind. And the next day, the crooks are on their way to the Mount Tyler jail, and Andy thanks Howard for his help. We'll see you next week for episode 14.